Anna had always believed that her life was stable, that her marriage was secure, and that the small routines of her days were a kind of shield against chaos. She had never imagined that one single evening could shatter everything she thought she knew. It started with an ordinary Thursday. She had left for work in the morning, kissed her husband Michael goodbye, and had gone about her day, answering emails and dealing with clients. Nothing unusual, nothing worth noting. But that evening, she realized she had forgotten her phone charger at home. She cursed under her breath and decided to return to the apartment before the night set in. The streets were empty, the city bathed in the soft glow of streetlights, and she thought of nothing but getting inside and retrieving her charger. When she reached the door, she noticed Michael's car in the driveway. That in itself wasn't alarming. He usually came home before her, but something in the way it was parked made her pause. The engine was off, the car doors locked, but the lights inside the apartment flickered in a way that seemed deliberate. Something told her that she wasn't alone in that moment. She unlocked the door quietly and stepped inside, her pulse quickening with an unexplainable unease. The living room smelled faintly of perfume, a scent she did not recognize. Her heart clenched in her chest. She moved closer to the hallway, and through the slightly ajar bedroom door, she saw Michael, standing there in nothing but his jeans, speaking in hushed tones with a woman she didn't know. The way they moved toward each other, the heat in their expressions, was enough to make Anna freeze in place. Her mind screamed to leave, to retreat and pretend she hadn't seen anything, but something inside her compelled her to stay. She watched as their hands brushed, lingering too long, and Michael's lips met the other woman's in a kiss that was not meant for anyone's eyes but theirs. Rage, disbelief, and a deep, bone-deep hurt washed over her. Her body trembled, her chest tight, and for a moment she felt like she might collapse right there in the hallway. She had known Michael for years, shared her life with him, trusted him with everything, and yet here he was, betraying that trust in the most brutal way imaginable. The woman moved closer, wrapping her arms around Michael's neck, whispering something that made him laugh. Anna's stomach turned. She could almost feel the betrayal as a physical weight pressing down on her shoulders. Her first instinct was to scream, to confront them immediately, but she realized that would only make things messy. She needed to think, to process, to understand how deep this wound went. Days passed, and the image of Michael with the other woman burned in her mind. She could barely sleep, barely eat. Every time he returned home, Anna studied him from across the room, noticing every movement, every glance, every half-hidden expression. The casual smiles he gave her no longer comforted her, they were reminders of how easily he could deceive her. Anna started noticing things she had ignored before: secretive text messages, phone calls he would step out to take, emails deleted too quickly. She began following him discreetly, seeing him meet the woman in cafes, in his car parked in shadowed corners, in hotels. Each discovery was a dagger in her heart, but also a revelation of a world she had never known, a world of lies, desire, and raw human selfishness. The sexual tension she saw between them only made the betrayal sting more. She hated him, but she couldn't look away. One night, she confronted him, not screaming, not crying, but with a quiet, deadly calm that unnerved him more than any tantrum could. "I know," she said simply. "I know everything." His eyes widened in shock, and for a brief second, he looked vulnerable, human, but that quickly hardened into defensiveness. "Anna, it's not what you think," he began, but she cut him off. "Don't lie to me. I saw you. I know who she is. I know what you've been doing." The truth spilled out in fragments, in desperate, half-begged confessions. Michael admitted to the affair, to the thrill, to the things he had done behind her back. He spoke of lust, of excitement, of craving something she couldn't, or wouldn't, give him. Every word was like salt on an open wound. Anna felt the anger surge, fierce and consuming, and yet underneath it, a dark, almost thrilling curiosity began to stir. She had lived in the confines of a perfect marriage, but now she was awake to the raw, messy reality of desire, deception, and power. She didn't know what she wanted. Part of her longed to punish him, to make him feel the weight of every moment of betrayal. Another part of her felt a dangerous pull toward the forbidden energy he had with the other woman, a twisted desire to reclaim, to assert herself in this game of lust and control. She was caught between fury and fascination, hatred and craving. Every glance he shot her across the room made her stomach clench, every touch he tried to give her ignited a fire she didn't know she had. The affair wasn't just a betrayal anymore, it became a battlefield of emotions, a dangerous dance between attraction and vengeance. Anna found herself imagining confronting the other woman, imagining taking control of the situation in ways that terrified and excited her simultaneously. The thought of seducing Michael herself, of reclaiming the intimacy that had been stolen from her, twisted inside her mind in ways that were both intoxicating and horrifying. By the end of the week, Anna realized that nothing would ever be the same. She could forgive, she could leave, or she could play a game that was as dangerous as it was irresistible. Michael's betrayal had opened a door to a part of her own psyche she had never explored, the part that understood power, desire, and revenge in ways that were thrilling and terrifying all at once. She stood in the bedroom doorway one night, watching him sleep, thinking about the choices she had to make. The room smelled faintly of perfume again, a cruel reminder that the other woman existed, that she was real, and that Michael's lust was not imaginary. But Anna also realized that she was no longer powerless. She had seen the truth, and the knowledge gave her a sharp edge. The game had begun, and she was ready to play. Anna spent the next few days in a haze of calculation and fury. Every move Michael made, every message he typed, every glance toward his phone was dissected in her mind. She didn't just want to confront him, she wanted to make him understand the gravity of what he had done. But it wasn't enough to yell or cry. She wanted control, she wanted power, she wanted to see him squirm under the weight of his betrayal. Late one night, she waited until she knew he had returned from his secret meeting. She watched from the shadows as he entered the apartment, the thrill of anticipation and danger mixing with her anger in a heady, intoxicating rush. Michael had no idea she was there. He tossed his coat aside, revealing the faint scent of another woman clinging to him, and Anna's stomach twisted, not with desire, not yet, but with a dark, simmering energy that demanded release. "You think I don't know?" she whispered as she stepped into the light, the words cutting through the room like a blade. Michael froze, panic flashing in his eyes. "Anna," he began, but she didn't let him finish. She moved closer, every step deliberate, her gaze hard and unyielding. "Do you have any idea what it feels like to watch someone you love touch someone else?" His face went pale, and he opened his mouth, but again she silenced him with a look. She circled him slowly, feeling the tension between them grow electric, aware that he was completely exposed, vulnerable in a way he had never been with her before. "I could scream," she said softly, almost teasingly, "or I could make you feel what I've been feeling." The air between them crackled, and for a terrifying second, Michael looked more afraid than she had ever seen him. Then Anna acted on impulse. She pressed herself against him, the heat of her body and the sharp intensity in her eyes making him tense. She wanted to show him that she could dominate this situation, that she was not a victim but a force to be reckoned with. His hands trembled as they reached for her, unsure if he was to pull her closer or step back. She didn't give him time to decide. She kissed him fiercely, her lips hard and demanding, tasting both the fear and the desire that had been simmering between them. The moment escalated quickly, raw and dangerous. Clothes were discarded, touches sharpened, and every movement was laced with the knowledge of betrayal and revenge. Anna made it clear that she was in control, using his lust as both punishment and a way to reclaim herself. Michael gasped under her intensity, realizing that this was not the submission he had expected from his wife. She was fierce, unforgiving, and intoxicating, turning his own infidelity into a weapon in her hands. Even as passion flared, her mind was sharp and calculating. Every reaction he had, every shiver or moan, was recorded in her mind. She could feel the power dynamic shift with every movement. She wasn't just taking back what was hers, she was exposing the raw truth of their relationship, the fragile boundaries they had taken for granted. And when the night ended, they were both exhausted, but Anna felt a strange, liberating sense of ownership over the chaos that had consumed them. The next day, Michael avoided her gaze. He knew the night had changed something fundamental between them. Anna walked around the apartment, collecting herself, feeling both the lingering heat and the satisfaction of having asserted her power. But she also knew that the affair hadn't ended. That other woman still existed, still threatened to unravel everything, and now Anna had to decide how far she was willing to go. Anna began following Michael more deliberately. She learned the times he met the other woman, the cafes they frequented, the way his body reacted when he saw her. She didn't confront them directly, yet, but she allowed herself to imagine the confrontation, the humiliation, the control she could wield. Each glimpse of their secret life fed her strategy, her desire, her need to dominate the narrative of betrayal. The game became addictive. Anna knew she was dancing on the edge of danger, emotionally, mentally, and physically, but she couldn't stop. Every encounter with Michael was charged with a tension that bordered on madness. Every moment spent observing him and the other woman was a thrill that both frightened and exhilarated her. She had entered a world she had only glimpsed in nightmares and fantasies, and now it was real, and she was at the center of it. By the time she decided to confront the other woman, Anna's mind was a storm of rage, lust, and strategy. She didn't want a simple fight. She wanted to strip away the illusions, to make Michael understand exactly what he had lost, to assert her dominance over the chaos he had created. And when that confrontation finally came, in a dimly lit cafe where the other woman waited unaware of what was coming, Anna felt an intoxicating clarity. This was her world now. She was no longer a passive participant. She was the storm. Anna entered the cafe with a quiet confidence that belied the storm inside her. The other woman, oblivious to her presence, sipped her coffee and laughed at something Michael had said over the phone, completely unaware that Anna had arrived. Every laugh, every glance, every subtle smile ignited a fire inside Anna, a mix of fury, desire, and an insatiable need to reclaim what had been stolen from her. She moved to the table without hesitation, letting her eyes lock with the woman's. The moment their gazes met, the air between them thickened, charged with unspoken threats and unrelenting tension. "I think we need to talk," Anna said, her voice low, smooth, and cold enough to send a shiver down the other woman's spine. Michael, who had been leaning casually against the table, looked up in surprise, his eyes widening as he realized that his two worlds were about to collide. He tried to explain, but Anna raised a hand, silencing him instantly. "No, you listen," she said, her voice slicing through the room. "You've taken something that doesn't belong to you. And now, you're going to understand what it feels like when someone fights back." The other woman's confident smile faltered as she sensed the intensity radiating from Anna. There was a subtle shift, a warning in the air that neither Michael nor she could ignore. Anna's presence was commanding, dangerous, and intoxicating, and she could see the flicker of fear in the other woman's eyes. It was satisfying, but not enough. She needed to make the lesson unforgettable. Anna leaned in, letting her proximity overwhelm both of them. She spoke slowly, each word deliberate, filled with a sharp edge. "You think he belongs to you? You think you can step into my life and take what's mine? Watch carefully, because this is what it looks like when someone fights for themselves." Her hand brushed Michael's arm, not tenderly, but possessively, marking her territory, reminding him of who held the real power now. The other woman's composure cracked. Anna saw the hesitation, the panic, the realization that she was no longer in control. Michael, too, looked bewildered. He had never seen Anna like this, feral, unyielding, dangerous, yet beautiful and intoxicating. She was a force he had underestimated for years, and now he was trapped in the consequences of his own desires. Anna didn't shout. She didn't need to. Her presence, her eyes, the controlled, simmering fire in her voice, did all the work. Every word she spoke, every deliberate movement, reminded them of the power she wielded. She forced them both to face the truth. Michael's betrayal had unleashed something that could not be contained. She wasn't a victim. She was the storm. By the end of the confrontation, the cafe was filled with silence, thick and suffocating. Michael looked at Anna with a mix of fear and awe, realizing that nothing could return to the way it was. The other woman had retreated, suddenly aware that she had crossed a line she could never reclaim. Anna's chest rose and fell steadily, her body alive with the rush of adrenaline, the satisfaction of having asserted herself. Back at home, Michael didn't speak for hours. Anna didn't need to explain. The silence said everything. The balance of their marriage had shifted irreversibly. He understood that lust and deception came with consequences, and Anna's power, sexual, psychological, emotional, was undeniable. They went to bed that night not as the same couple who had lived under the illusion of normality, but as two people whose relationship had been tested by fire, betrayal, and raw, unrelenting human desire. In the weeks that followed, Anna controlled the rhythm of their lives. She allowed him proximity, but only on her terms. The affair ended, not with apologies, not with tears, but with a shift in dominance. Michael understood that the woman he had underestimated was now the one setting the boundaries, the rules, and the consequences. He loved her still, or at least a version of her he could no longer take for granted, and that love was now complicated, sharp, and real. Anna discovered a new facet of herself, strength wrapped in desire, control wrapped in passion. She had faced betrayal, danger, and temptation, and had emerged not broken, but empowered, unpredictable, untouchable. The other woman faded from their lives, a ghost of temptation defeated by Anna's audacity. Michael's guilt and awe served as daily reminders of the power she now held. She had turned the tables, and in doing so, she had claimed something far greater than revenge. She had claimed herself. Evenings were no longer quiet and predictable. Each touch, each glance, each conversation carried the electricity of a battle fought and won. Their intimacy deepened, fierce and consuming, born from a storm of emotions that would have destroyed a lesser couple. But Anna thrived on that storm. She had learned that power, desire, and control could coexist, and in that dangerous mix, she found herself more alive than ever. She had been pushed to the edge, and instead of falling, she had soared. In the weeks that followed the confrontation, Anna noticed a shift not only in Michael but within herself. She moved through the apartment with a quiet authority, every glance and touch measured, deliberate. Michael watched her, awe and guilt mingling in his expression, a constant reminder of the night she had claimed control. The other woman disappeared from their lives, erased not by confrontation but by Anna's undeniable presence. She had become a force that no one could challenge, a woman who could channel rage, desire, and intellect into a single, unyielding power. Their intimacy evolved into something electric, almost dangerous. Every encounter was laced with the memory of betrayal and the knowledge that their love was now tempered by fire. Michael, once reckless and unfaithful, now approached her with a combination of reverence and hunger. He understood that his past actions had consequences and that Anna was no longer a passive participant. She initiated, she commanded, she seduced, and he followed, willingly, hungrily, aware of the lesson she had taught him. Anna herself marveled at the transformation. The betrayal, the danger, the lustful tension with Michael had unlocked something within her, a raw confidence that transcended fear. She no longer felt the fragile insecurity that had once haunted her. Instead, she embraced every facet of her being. The lover, the strategist, the woman who could dominate and inspire. Each night, their encounters blurred the line between passion and power, pain and pleasure, trust and control. But it wasn't just the bedroom where the dynamics had changed. In everyday life, Anna wielded the same quiet authority. She made decisions, set boundaries, and demanded respect, not with anger, but with a presence that could not be ignored. Michael learned to navigate this new reality, a mix of awe, love, and a subtle fear that kept him attentive, careful, and undeniably devoted. The affair had been a catalyst, a harsh teacher, but Anna had emerged stronger, more aware, and more alive than ever. Occasionally, thoughts of the other woman flickered through her mind, but they no longer held power over her. She understood that desire could be manipulated, that jealousy could be harnessed, and that her own strength could turn potential threats into instruments of control. She had played the game, and she had won, not through violence or vindictiveness, but through the mastery of her own emotions, sexuality, and intellect. Anna also realized that her love for Michael had changed. It was no longer naive or dependent. It was fierce, informed by knowledge and tempered by awareness. She could forgive, she could embrace, but she would never forget. The fire between them was different now, more deliberate, more controlled, yet more consuming. Every kiss, every touch, every whispered word carried weight, history, and a shared understanding of boundaries and consequences. As days turned into weeks, their lives found a new rhythm. Friends and family noticed a subtle change in Anna, confidence, elegance, an almost imperceptible aura of authority. Michael respected and feared her in equal measure, and she loved him fiercely for the man he had become under her influence. They built a private world, one of passion and strategy, where desire, trust, and power coexisted in a delicate balance. Anna often reflected on the night she had returned early and discovered the truth. The betrayal had been devastating, almost unbearable, but it had unlocked a potential within her she had never imagined. She had faced lust, deception, and danger, and had emerged not broken, but formidable, unapologetic, and intoxicating. She understood that power and intimacy were inseparable, and that desire could be both weapon and reward. Every glance between them now carried the weight of experience. Every touch was a silent conversation, an acknowledgement of the past and a celebration of the present. Michael had learned his place, not beneath her, but alongside her, equal in desire, aware of the boundaries she had set, enthralled by the force she had become. Their marriage, once mundane and predictable, now thrived on tension, respect, and unyielding passion. Anna had conquered fear, betrayal, and doubt, and in doing so, she had claimed herself. She understood that life could be dangerous, lustful, and unpredictable, but also exhilarating and powerful when met with courage and control. Every day, she walked through their apartment with confidence, knowing that she was no longer merely a wife or a woman scorned. She was the storm, the fire, the force that could not be tamed, and Michael, who had once strayed, now understood that the woman he had underestimated had become his equal in desire, intellect, and will. The past had left scars, but Anna embraced them, turning pain into strength, betrayal into insight, and lust into power. She had survived, conquered, and reclaimed her life, and in that reclamation, she had found not just revenge, not just pleasure, but the intoxicating, undeniable sense of being fully, unapologetically herself.